Muslim Ummah.
Allah, peace be upon you. We are standing in this historical march during ongoing genocide against our brothers and sisters in Gaza. Israel government has been and is bombing hospitals, schools, shelters, churches, mosques, residential buildings, all form of infrastructure, including UN facilities. More than 100 UN facilities had been destroyed. 137 UN aid worker has been killed by Israeli army. They are killing doctors, nurses, journalists, everyone, anyone, including UN officials. This indiscriminate bombardment, killing innocent civilians, children and women, it is collective punishment, hence it is war crime. Brothers and sisters, as we standing here today, 23,703 people has been killed. Some 7,000 human being missing, probably they're
Chicken
under the
feet.
rubble.
Oh, that stinks. Has there been some
Israeli
bad weather
government
there?
is
I know
using
in
the
Iowa it's
massive
gonna be
explosive
having,
ordnance, unguided bomb,
blizzard-like conditions.
the most sophisticated nuclear weapon such as white phosphorus. Gaza is occupied territory by Israel since 1967. Israel blocked food, water, electricity, fuel, medical supplies, and communications. There are animals that are treated better than Palestinians. Nearly 2 million people, 85% population displaced from their home. Situation is horrific.
It is very, very cold here in Ohio.
There are humanitarian disaster in the Gaza. At this destruction, human catastrophe, and genocide done by US supplied bombs and weapons. In this campaign, violate international laws, UN conventions. It is violation
much above,
US laws and US policies as well, brothers and sisters.
In my apartment.
Helping Israel in this war destroyed US image over the world. In this horrific situation, in this catastrophe, I called upon US government today. You must address the atrocities of the Israeli government. You must address the humanitarian crisis of the Palestinians. You must address the violation of international laws and war crimes by Israel. I call upon US government today, you must stop funding this campaign of the genocide. You must put an end to the genocide. I call upon US government today, it is time that you influence the ceasefire. Ceasefire right now. Stop the killing of civilians. You must restore basic human dignity of the lives of the Palestinian. I call upon the United States government today, do not have your name written the book of history as the oppressor, as the killers of innocent people. Whole world is watching, Mr. Biden. Whole world is watching. You will be held accountable for this killing. We ask Almighty Allah to save oppressed human beings, save mankind, held accountable the oppressors. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
The whole world is watching. The whole world is watching. The whole world is watching. Are any of y'all cold? I'm not cold. I'm not cold. But for those who are, our next speaker is fiery enough that she's going to warm you all up. Our next speaker, an activist, a physician, and a longtime ally of the Palestinian movement, Dr. Jill Stein.
That's a name I think the team's heard before.
Thank you, Mohammed. I wish you could see what I see. I see power. I see justice. I see democracy as the eye can see. And I thank you. It is such an honor to be able to be here with you, to say to the world and to say to our criminal misleaders, we say ceasefire now. We say end genocide now. We say end occupation now. We say end apartheid now. I want to remind you we are, in fact, an unstoppable majority and an unstoppable force for peace. For as Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing with our hand. We are that demand. And as another wise leader, Alice Walker, the poet and novelist, said, the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing. To us, to we the people. Don't let them intimidate you out of our power. We have the power to be a force in the streets. We have a power to be instructing our elected officials.
Thanks for all the new followers.
What they
I
need
appreciate
to
it.
do, that they need to apartheid Israel. We need to withdraw our advisors, our troops, our warships, our ammunition, and our weapons of crime. And I'll remind you, we all have a choice as voters. And I'm
If
so,
you have a legal
I can say, it's beyond words. I had already decided
of 3 roses,
to run as the Green candidate for president
you have the ability to put
before this genocide began.
Palestinian.
But once
Is there
it
an actual
began,
Palestinian flag?
I was so thankful that
You have the
I
ability to
could
put those in
use
chat on
this megaphone that we call elections to actually move forward,
On my TikTok,
to challenge power,
I'm streaming to that, both
to say
and
to
that
empire,
and Rumble.
you cannot
Rumble's
do
gonna be a
this.
slightly different
and we, the
audience,
people,
but
are changing course here
I do
and
have
now.
some definite Gaza
They
supporters on
want
my
you to
TikTok chat.
believe that you have no choice.
And with that,
You actually
feel
have
free to
many
put some
choices. And there will be other speakers here today who
flags
are
in the
also a principled, inspired, and moral choice. You have that choice. We need to assert our power right now. Don't wait. I urge you to sign this pledge to stop genocide through our votes. You can
I have
find
gotten
us
at least
on
3
the
new
web.
followers.
We'll
That is
be
awesome.
handing out the cards. This is a pledge to
I
say
don't go live a whole
we
lot, but
will
occasionally you
not
might see me
give
going
our
live playing
votes
games or
to
discussing some
any
true crime stuff.
candidate who supports genocide. But we won't stop there, because they would love for us to be silent and just disappear. We are also saying we will support, we pledge to support candidates who are fighting to stop genocide, for a ceasefire now, and for an end to occupation and apartheid. So with that, I just want to remind you that we have the power to change history. The arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We will be the benders that moves history towards justice.
Well, I will say this, despite
And
how much
as Gaza goes,
Gaza has
we
been
all
bombed, somehow
go.
Hamas still
Gaza
continues to
is
fire
where we
rockets on Israel.
assert that international
So, yeah.
law and human rights are the law of the land and the law of the future. Let's make it happen together. We are unstoppable. Thank you so much.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Next, we have a short message from Tory Carter, not here today due to Sabbath.
Pray the Almighty sanctify His name and bring peace to the world. Assalamu alaikum. To know that because I am burning with the people of Gaza, it is beyond words. Their suffering. We are beyond words. Mass murder is being perpetrated in our name.
Jews
It is anti-Semitic. What the
have a very
Zionist state of Israel is committing their crime, their occupation, and the slaughter in Gaza.
very different view of the idea of
Listen to this
the
voice
state.
and free the people of Gaza, free the people of Palestine sooner nowadays. Assalamu alaikum.
Our next speaker is Dr. Mohsen Ansari, who is a physician and the president of the Islamic Circle of North America.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
I've learned a lot recently
بسم
about
الله
there being like different
الرحمن
sects
الرحيم
of Jewish people. I don't know what all different sects there might be within the Muslim faith, but
Okay.
within the Jewish, it's very, very interesting.
There is a little boy by the name of Jack wearing a blue coat, a blue puffer coat. He is 8 years old. Light skin, brown hair.
Ohio homeowners, we need to talk.
I guess skip us
Solar works. Hi. We hear
A horse statue? The man on the horse.
Thank you for
He has
following
a
live.
blue Adidas sweatshirt and black gloves. Jack, if you hear this, please go to the statue of the black horse, of the horse in the back. It is in the back of or the stage if that's what's closer. Please make your way.
Appreciate the like.
Your family is very
We
worried.
do have
We
a
need you as
goal
soon
of
as
getting
possible.
3 roses.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillah.
That's supposed to be. I don't know if
fellow
it's working
citizens,
actually.
I am wearing a white coat today. And this white coat is a symbol of something which has never happened on the face of the earth. I am baby doctor. I am one of those doctors which take care of babies in incubation. In baby cribs. They get worried. They spend their nights and days to save one baby in the crib. To save one baby
Well,
without
yeah,
oxygen.
that doesn't surprise me. I think you'll
Mr.
find that
President
most doctors are
and
like that.
fellow
They're gonna
Americans,
fight to
what
save
will you say to those
a life.
who cut off the oxygen for 500 babies?
I don't know. I have questions about that.
What will you say to those who killed 437 doctors?
I have questions about the place, but
you visited
it could be true.
and put your hand on the back of the mass killers on the day when they bombarded Al Shifa hospital and they killed 1,000 patients. My dear fellow Americans, we stand here to tell Mr. Blinken, listen, we salute to South Africa. You said they are saying things which are meritless. No, they are on the side of justice. They are on the side of American people. They are on the side of 65% of Americans. You are the one who was alone and 150 nations were against you in UN. You are making us unpopular in the world. You're taking the American position of leadership away from us. So before I leave, I will say 3 things. First, what 65% of Americans and all of us think here, immediate ceasefire! 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 Second, stop giving us the lecture of morality. You like to have selective morality. Your morality and justice is different for Ukraine and different for Gaza. It's this hypocrisy. And the last thing is stop funding apartheid killers. Stop funding them. Stop arming them. Genocide. And Mr. Biden, Mr. Blinker, if you don't listen, get ready to pack your bag and leave the White House.
Bloody Blinken Genocide Joe! Both of them have got to go! Bloody Blinken Genocide Joe! Both of them have got to go! Our next speakers are those who have moral courage when their bosses do not. At a time where the political establishment has shown no morality, their staff has. And it brings me great pleasure to introduce our next speakers from Congressional Staff for Ceasefire and Biden administration staff, who will have their statement read by a man who has shown more moral courage than everyone in the White House and everyone in Congress combined. Josh Paul, the former State Department rep, who resigned over their stance on Gaza. Without further ado, I'll invite the congressional staff up first.
Hey everyone, hello. My name is Ishmael, and I'm a Palestinian American congressional staffer. I speak for staffers across Capitol Hill, Democrats, Republicans, and independents. Many of us have dissented and protested since October 7th. Trust me, y'all are not alone. We're the ones who answer your calls and emails. We're the ones who write legislation and advise our bosses on policy decisions. We do this because we believe in a simple fact. We need everyone to make this government work. We know that change needs to happen on the inside and outside. These past 100 days have shown that your protests, your marches, and your voices are shifting the narrative. Our combined efforts can change this government. We join the majority of Americans who are demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and a release of all hostages. Hamas's October 7th attack was disgusting, and the Israeli government's blatant disregard for innocent Palestinians is disgusting. We've witnessed this humanitarian catastrophe on television, WhatsApp groups, Twitter, and Instagram. Calls have poured in across the country by the hundreds of thousands. Calls from all of you. We know this is wrong.
1 second. Medic team, Medic team, we need a medic over here to stage right. We need a medic over here to stage right. If the people around could move to the side, please. They're waving the right, a white rag for a white bag. I'm sorry. The medic team, if you guys could make your way over, please.
Well, look, hundreds of thousands of y'all have called. From all of y'all who know that this is wrong. But the majority of our elected officials have remained silent as Palestinians die. Even many Democrats who care about fighting gun violence at home stay silent while Palestinians are killed by American-made and supplied weapons. At the end of the day, it's the members of Congress's name on the door. Our decision to dissent was not made lightly. We are here because you all have inspired us to speak up, to show solidarity, and to express our humanity. The long road to peace starts with the United States supporting an immediate ceasefire and facilitating the return of Israeli hostages and arbitrarily detained Palestinians. We know that, our allies in the Biden administration know that, y'all know that. Many of our bosses privately express this same sentiment, yet will not say the same publicly. But that is starting to change. We are your allies on the other side of that phone. We are working hard. We are organizing, and we are many. We are Democrats, Republicans, and independents all across the government who refuse to let go of our humanity. Keep protesting, keep marching, and keep calling. The pressure is working. The established narrative won't change overnight, but together we are turning the tide. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. No, the real heroes are in Gaza and in the West Bank. I've been asked to read a statement from US government employees. Before I do so,
we've had
I just
a
want
lot
to
of
speak
shares.
specifically
I appreciate
to the
that.
Arab Americans, to the Muslim Americans, and to the
Lot of
Palestinian
shares
Americans
right
among
now
you
on
today,
TikTok.
to tell you from the bottom of my heart how important your voices are. You are gathered here today to demand a ceasefire. An end to war and an end to occupation. More than demand to see your presence here today and in America is a reminder of the values this country seems to have forgotten.
What's up, bruh?
A belief written into our founding documents
Where
that
you come
every
from?
human
Where I
being
come
on
from?
this earth
My
is
mama?
endowed with certain unalienable rights, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of
I am
happiness.
based in Ohio.
For over 20 years, many in your community have been vilified, threatened, and silenced. You have been told that you do not belong here, that you are not welcome here, that you do not fit in here. Today, as we
a lot of
see,
immigrants
that
are
could
feeling
not be
that way
further
right
from
now.
the truth.
Even Jewish people
In an
are at
era
times
of
getting treated
social
that. Like, so
atomization,
you
you
don't have the
demonstrate the strength of
you don't have the
community.
corner market on
In an
feeling
era of politics divorced
you
from
know,
accountability,
abused and targeted.
you
there, pal.
demonstrate the
Hate to break it to you.
power of advocacy. In an era of censorship, you demonstrate courage. In an era of political enmity, you model human empathy. In an era of unfairness, you demand justice. And in an era where the world believes America has lost its credibility and its integrity, you embody our greatest values. You are the best of America,
see.
and I am
You just came
humbled
out of
to be
nowhere
standing
with
with you
this.
today as you raise your
I had to
voices
take a
for the
potty
lives
break.
of Palestinians and for the soul of America. Our nation owes you far more than you will ever understand. On behalf of my former colleagues in government who share my concerns about the administration's approach to this conflict and the broader regional policy on their behalf, we are the staffers of the Biden-Harris administration. We come from all walks of life, serving in the most diverse administration in US history, an administration that, in President Biden's own words, looks like America. As public servants, we believe we have a responsibility. That is why we marched today to make clear that we will not stay silent demanding an immediate and permanent ceasefire and de-escalation. We were horrified proportionate, which has indiscriminately killed thousands of innocent Palestinian civilians in Gaza and displaced over 1 million more. We have also seen an escalation of violence in the West Bank. In the last 3 months, Israeli forces have killed over 23,350 Palestinians, including more than 9,600 children. Palestinians are still missing under the rubble. We have seen refugee camps, hospitals, we join respected institutions like the United Nations and international human rights organizations in calling for an end to this mass human suffering, and we join them in support of South Africa's case before the International Court of Justice, alleging Israel violated the Genocide Convention. There must be an immediate end to this violence, and there must be accountability for the blatant human rights abuses and mass atrocities occurring in this region. We refuse to be silent as the majority of Americans and majority of the world are calling for a ceasefire. President Biden committed to bringing humanity to our foreign policy, and we remind him that all human lives matter equally and the protection of all human rights is unconditional. Our voices and the voices of the American public that we serve demand that this violence must stop. And for this reason, we demand President Biden and members of the cabinet to speak up, call for a permanent ceasefire, a release of all hostages, including the thousands of Palestinians arbitrarily detained by Israel, and an immediate de-escalation now. Both Israelis and Palestinians have the right to live with equal rights, safety, peace, and human dignity. The peace and safety for all across the Middle East is essential the lives of millions of people hang in the balance in Gaza, in Israel, in the West Bank, and across the region. Thank you. Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
This is exactly why it's important for us to have representation in our government. We cannot lift our hands. The government is supposed to represent the people. Next up, one of my favorite members of Congress.
Oh.
Anybody on the satellite truck, you need to get off. Get off the satellite truck, please. Off the satellite truck, please. Off the satellite truck, please.
We're gonna have a member of Congress. I'm glad that, they're making sure that
Okay.
people are behaving
Somebody will handle
themselves.
it.
And when they're seeing them
Next
doing
up-
something they're not supposed to be
Next up,
doing,
I'd
they're
like to
like,
introduce one of my favorite members of Congress.
not today. Get off
Congressman
that
Andre
satellite truck,
Carson,
mister.
who is one out of 3 Muslims serving in Congress and represents the 7th District of Indiana.
Salam alaikum.
I've never heard of this guy. Wait,
That's my sister right there. She's a general. She's a warrior. She's a leader. Look at this crowd.
Rep. Andre
This is
Carson,
what I'm talking
U.S.
about.
Congressman.
When I see this crowd,
I've never
think
heard of
about-
Representative Carson.
an election year. When I see this crowd,
He's going to piss a lot
I
of
think
people being
about what
off
it
this
means
event.
to leverage our voting block. When I see this crowd, I see a movement that says
Does
we
he
will
have
no
just like a
longer
single
allow
patch
you
of hair on
to
his
come
head?
to our masjids, to
Or
come
is
to
that a
our
birthmark?
iftars, to make empty promises. And
guess
when
that's a
we vote
birthmark.
you in office, you vote against our interests. Enough is enough. What's happening in Gaza is wrong. It can be frustrating when some of our friends seem to be going on with life as usual. And as though the atrocities in Gaza aren't even happening, they're going on with their lives. But for those of us who love Palestine, we see the faces of distraught mothers in our dreams. We see the ashes of Palestinian children on social media and on
This is
TV.
the peace cat.
We see
He
the
wants
carnage
peace in the Middle
and
East.
death in a place that was once where
says, "I'm
family
a cat.
built their lives.
I have no dog in this fight,
23,000 souls
but I
have
like
lost
peace."
their lives so far, and I'm
Do
afraid
you like peace?
that number will only
Do you
grow.
like peace, Maverick?
Now,
Yeah,
it's
you
human
like
to
peace. You
feel
want peace in the Middle East.
anger and grief and even hopelessness. But today, we should be hopeful
We don't want
because I
dead
see
Arabs.
power.
We don't want dead Jews.
for you.
We want peace.
You are the movement that helped to achieve a temporary ceasefire. It was you. You are the voices that are pushing back
Y'all
on
doesn't want to be on my
right-wing
lap. He wants to get
extremism
down.
and APAC funding.
I'm making
You
my cat lay on my lap right now. He's not very happy with
You-
me for it.
are posting on social media and fighting the narrative that says Palestinian lives just don't matter. Now let me assure you, Allahu Akbar. Let me assure you, as a black man who comes out of the Black American Indigenous Muslim experience, that we know what it means
Thank
to
you for
fight
sharing the
against
live.
injustice.
Thank you.
It can be lonely at times. It can be discouraging. But we haven't given
Maverick
up.
wants me to set him down.
Today,
You
I
haven't
see
been
our
letting me cuddle
community
with you.
working together with
Cuddle.
allies. And it's important to have allies. We couldn't get this done without allies. The civil rights
Fine, let me
movement
get
wouldn't
you
have happened
pictures so that you
without
don't
allies.
Rip out my cords.
The desegregation of the
Hold
military
on. You're
wouldn't
all
have
tangled.
happened without allies.
I know.
But we have to stay firm and not let anyone hijack our movement for their own personal gain. We have to move forward. We know that military aggression is not the answer. We know that
Sometimes
we'll
it's the
stay
answer.
strong.
Kind of
But
depends.
the world is eating out of the palm of our hands.
Sometimes
And I
military
don't
force
want
is
us
the
to
answer.
squander this moment being misled or doing silly stuff. There have been masjids who have organized all across this country in a way we've never.
Our next speaker comes to us virtually from the blessed city of Gaza. And we know our speaker is a journalist from Gaza who sent a special message for everyone here today. Journalist Bilal, many of you may already follow him on Instagram and other social media. Last year in December, in 2022, Bilal was covering the World Cup in Qatar. Last year in 2023, he was covering the genocide of Gaza. Without further ado, Bilal.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. من هنا من قطاع غزة، من هذا القطاع المحاصر، هذا القطاع الذي ينزف. اقتربنا على 100 يوم ونحن نذبح أمام أعين العالم. اقتربنا على 100 يوم من الدمار ومن الدم ومن الصراخ، والعالم لم يحرك ساكنا. لكن نقول لكم أنتم، لكل مناصري فلسطين في كل أنحاء العالم، ولكم أنتم خصيصا في هذه التظاهرة الحاشدة في واشنطن، نحن نراكم ونحن نسمعكم. أنتم إخوتنا، أنتم أعيننا في الخارج وأنتم أصواتنا في الخارج، يدا بيد لوقف هذه المقتلة، لوقف هذه المجازر التي ترتكب بحق الأطفال وحق النساء المدنيين في قطاع غزة. نتمنى أن تنتهي هذه الإبادة الجماعية قريبا. نتمنى أن يكون هناك وقف لإطلاق النار من أجل هؤلاء المدنيين، من أجل أن تصبح غزة مكانا آمنا للعيش، مكانا يستحق الحياة الكريمة الخالية من الحروب والخالية من الصواريخ والصباحات التي نستيقظ عليها كل يوم في هذه الحرب. شكرا لكم على تضامنكم، شكرا لكم على وقوفكم بجانبنا، شكرا لكم على مقاطعتكم، وشكرا لكم على تظاهراتكم، شكرا لكم على نشاطكم على السوشيال ميديا، لأن كل هذا يعتبر هو نوع من أنواع المقاومة التي تحتاجها فلسطين وتحتاجها غزة من أجل نصرة هذه القضية ومن أجل إنهاء هذه المجازر. نتمنى السلام لشعبنا ونتمنى لكم الخير دائما، وإن شاء الله نراكم عما قريب.
For those of you who don't understand Arabic, he was thanking us for marching and for fighting for them. And so my reminder to you is, as tired as we are, imagine how they feel. We must persevere just like they are. Our next speaker is Sister Arshia Ali Khan, who is the CEO of the Muslim Legal Fund of America and the newly appointed chairwoman of the US CMO.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings on each and every one of you courageous souls that have gathered here today. We stand in the heart of Freedom Plaza. Freedom Plaza, a symbolic reminder that freedom has actually never been free. It has always come at a cost. Our communities bear witness to the web of injustice on the heels of this horrific genocide. From unjust incarceration to no-fly placement, to social media surveillance, to media censorship, to Islamophobic hate crimes, we know that freedom is indeed not free. In the face of this unspeakable genocide in Gaza, we must confront the harsh reality that the cost of freedom extends across all borders. It demands collective courage to stand up against oppression
Thank
and
you
violence.
for joining, Kenya.
What has unfolded in Gaza is not a distant tragedy. It is a chapter in our shared history of humanity, a history that we refuse to be written in blood. Let me be crystal clear. This genocide does not make us safer. It does not protect us from hate crimes or from terrorist organizations. Instead, it perpetuates pain and vengeance. It is a stark reminder that the quest for true security cannot be built on the ruins of innocent lives, on the tears of grieving mothers and fathers, on the shattered dreams of our children. Freedom Plaza, ignorance is not an option. And today we are here to say that silence is not an option either. We cannot ignore the role of the US sending munitions, particularly the 2,000-pound MK-84 bombs in indiscriminate bombing of Gaza, manufactured in the USA. President Biden, can you hear us? You cannot tell us to end indiscriminate bombing while simultaneously supplying weapons used in these attacks. We will not accept selective morality. We refuse
still
to
pretending
live
that
like citizens on
He cares
probation.
about you. Still pretending
Hypocrisy
that?
of
Okay.
standing with Ukraine and standing on Palestinian lives is unacceptable. The echoes of suffering in Gaza resonate with the struggle faced in Muslims globally, including the rights of Americans right here. Our destinies are intertwined, and our fight for justice is shared battle against forces of systemic oppression. 1 second. Let it be known, we stand united with Gaza for the very essence of freedom. Freedom that is compromised when governments allow genocide to continue funded with our tax dollars. Today, we demand immediate ceasefire to end the relentless assault of innocent brown lives in Palestine. I will shout from the rooftops until my voice reverberates through the halls of power, reaching decision makers and influencers. Let Gaza live! Let Gaza live! Let Gaza live!
Let Gaza live. Our next speaker is Brian Becker from the Answer Coalition.
Sisters and brothers, can I have your attention for 1 second? As we're here in Washington, D.C., between the White House and the Capitol, a ship destined to go to Israel came to the port in Oakland, California, and today the port in Oakland, California has been shut down.
Wait a minute. Whoa. 1 second. I want to go back here a second.
For 1 second, as we're here in Washington, D.C., between the White House and the Capitol, a ship destined to go to Israel came to the port in Oakland, California, and today the port in Oakland, California has been shut down.
That's not good.
And what are the people in Yemen supposedly guilty of? They are trying to stop a genocide and to shut it down. Shut it down.
Wow.
Shut it down. What's our message? What's our message? Not just for the politicians. What's our message for our own movement? The power to make change is not going to come from the Democratic Party establishment or the Republican Party establishment. It's going to come from us.
It's closed on. It's closed on.
Just think of the last week. The people in South Africa, they rose up. The people in South Africa 40 years ago were defined as terrorists,
they're shut down
and they were in jail. But today, they accuse the genocidal maniacs in Tel Aviv before the world. On November 4th, we were here in the hundreds of thousands. Today, we're in the massive numbers. We're shutting it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down.
Government really does not take kindly on protesters who are interrupting.
Our next speaker is Brother Nihad Awad, who is the Executive Director of the Council of American Islamic Relations.
I'm not sure that's going to go
Assalamu
where you want it to
alaikum wa
go.
rahmatullah.
So there's a ARC
Peace be to you.
Bay Area from
I stand
Palestine.
before
We shut
you
down
today
main business at the port of
as a
Oakland.
proud Palestinian
Thanks
refugee.
to the thousands who showed up, we still need you today to shut down afternoon operations and full businesses for
Like
the day.
the millions of
March at 2
Palestinians
p.m. west
who
of Oakland
dream
Park.
to go back
Text
to
Gaza
their homeland one day.
633-0604 for updates.
I salute our people in Gaza and in all Palestine for their deep faith.
So Saturday, January 13th at 2 p.m. West Oakland and Bark, text Gaza to 833-633-0604. Update, we shut down morning business at the port of Oakland thanks to the thousands who showed up, blah, blah, blah. So why were they doing it at the Bay Area? The Bay Area has been leading with its moral conscience and saying no to a ceasefire, following suit after by Oakland most recently. San Francisco became the largest U.S. city to officially call out for a ceasefire. Despite this, Port of Oakland, one of the largest ports on the West Coast, continues to be open for the business of genocide. It has hosted ships destined for Israel that carry weapons, military equipment, and technology that fuel the Israeli genocide of Palestinians. Given the U.S. government's complicity in this genocide violence, it is our responsibility to make every effort to end this slaughter, as our communities have continued to fight in the halls of government. We will also fight the war economy that powers this genocide. In commemorating the MLK Day this weekend, we honor and uphold the radical legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his international vision for human rights, racial justice, and end to war and exploitation across the world. The morning for the day, the Bay Area will shut down the port all day. Morning shift began at 5 a.m. We need to start the day off strong in order to shut down port business early and maximize our impact. In the afternoon, and March and Pickett will follow from West Oakland Barge Station. We anticipate the afternoon shift to be more easily accessible for families. I'm gonna see if I can find any lives of what's going on at the port. This is crazy. Because you can't do that. You can't do that and then be shocked when you get arrested for, shutting down a port. Oh, guess they're not listening and they're not getting off the satellite truck. They're not joining him and chanting it. That's funny. Oh. I guess I can't hear them. You should be threatening to arrest them if they're climbing on it. I can't even find any Port of Oakland live cams. Oh, he's not on you. Not. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate it. Charge him with hypocrisy. What? It's really not good that they've shut down the Port of Oakland. That's a good way for people to get arrested. And the ports aren't like operational completely on Saturdays and Sundays, so
vividly in color, in living memory, as we have of the Palestinian genocide. What else should we call it? When 25% of Gaza has been destroyed.
Genocide!
What do we call it when 500,000 people have been displaced from their land?
Genocide!
What do we call it when 200 bombs of 2 tons each have been dropped in a small area of 2 kilometers?
Genocide.
What do we call it when the Prime Minister of Israel himself uses biblical motifs?
Genocide.
What do we call it when the Foreign Secretary and the Foreign Minister of Israel literally calls Palestinians animals?
Genocide.
All of this is nothing other than genocide. And I say loudly and clearly, this is not anti-Semitism. As I see the crowd in front of us, there are hundreds of Orthodox rabbis, thousands of Jewish people. These are our brethren. These are our brethren. They are the real followers of Moses. They are the ones who make the children of Israel proud. These are the people who show the nation of Israel what the real children of Israel are. I say loudly and clearly, as a person of faith, that it is not your ancestry that makes you blessed. It is your piety that makes you blessed. And I have a message to the Christians of this country. Where would Jesus stand in this conflict? Do you think he would be on the side of the oppressor, or do you think he would be on the side of the oppressed? I urge every Christian of this country to listen to the beautiful sermon given in Bethlehem 2 weeks ago on Christmas by the pastor of Bethlehem called Christ Under the Rubble. Listen to that sermon from one Christian to the others of this country and see for yourselves where Jesus would have stood. And I have a message. And I have a message to my fellow Americans. I am an American, born and raised in this country. There is much in this country that I'm proud of, but there are aspects that are very, very depressing, very sinister. And what comes to mind is one of the words of the founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, in looking at slavery, he writes in his diaries, I tremble at the injustice that I see, because the God of justice does not sleep. And it's only a matter of time before the justice of God will be manifest, end quote. I too look at our country, and while I love it from the bottom of my heart, and I want the best for this country, I also say that no country that supports tyranny will ever flourish. No country that supports genocide will ever flourish. No country that kills innocent people will ever flourish. Oh, people of America, if you want your country to flourish, and I want it to flourish, if you want it to be blessed, I urge you to take a long and hard look at our irrational relationship with Israel. We have given Israel more money than any other country on the planet. In the last 75 years, we have given Israel more than $250 billion. Since World War II, America has used its veto power in the UN around 90 times, more than half of them for the country of Israel. Who does America support? Us Americans or another country? Why are our tax dollars being spent in the Middle East? We need to take our tax dollars and spend them here. We do not need to get involved in another military conflict. And instead of helping the defenseless people of Palestine, instead of asking for a ceasefire, our president unilaterally bypassed Congress and bombed one of the most disenfranchised, disempowered countries, that is Yemen. What shame on this president! Are we not sick of going to war, one war after another? When are we going to learn? This is our tax dollars. This is our country. For how long are we going to bomb? For how long are we going to invade? Where is our country and our interest? So I say loudly and clearly, this is not about Palestine. This is not about Arabs. This is not about Muslims. This is about us as a human people. This is about us as Americans. Are we going to sit by idly as we watch another genocide? 75 years ago, we heard the slogan, never again. We now have the opportunity to stand up and say, yes, indeed, never again. Not in my name, not in my name, not in my name. Shame to every single congressman or woman who supports this genocide. Shame to every single senator who supports this genocide. Shame to our Secretary of State. Shame to our president. And I say, we have judged you as losers and failures, and God will judge you in the hereafter. Wassalam and peace out.
Can you say peace out?
Biden, Biden, you can't hide. You're supporting genocide. Biden, Biden, you can't hide. You're supporting genocide.
What do they mean by you can't hide? Like he's not out there in public talking to them? I don't understand.
When we got in communication with Wa'il Dahdur, we were not sure if he would be able to work with us. But Wa'il Dahdur is the perfect example of the people of Gaza. Wa'il Dahdur sent a message for everyone in this crowd and for everyone who supports justice. Without further ado, Al Jazeera journalist Wa'il Dahdur.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أولا شيء أود
أن أنقل لكم باسم أسرتي وباسم أسرة الصحفيين وباسم الشعب الفلسطيني هنا في قطاع غزة تحياتنا واحترامنا وتقديرنا لكل ما تفعلونه. بالتأكيد غزة هذه الأيام تمر في مرحلة عصيبة جدا، تاريخية جدا، استثنائية جدا لم تمر بها في تاريخها، ولذلك الناس هنا يدفعون أثمانا باهظة جدا ويعيشون حياة كارثية. من يعرف لا الأكل أو الطعام والشراب، المسكن من الخيام، الحمام، وما تتطلبه الحياة ليست الكريمة، وإنما التي تضمن لهم الاستمرارية حتى ما كانت الظروف. لا يجدون ذلك إلا لماما أو كفافا، ومن خلال ظروف غاية في الكارثية، غاية في الصعوبة. صحيح أن قطاع غزة يدفع الآن ثمنا باهظا، ومن بين من يدفع الصحفيين الفلسطينيين. الصحفيون الفلسطينيون في قطاع غزة يتعرضون إلى مذبحة إن صح التعبير، إلى مقتل إن صح التعبير. 112 صحفيا ومصورا حتى الآن استشهدوا في هجمات إسرائيلية متفرقة خلال 3 أشهر، وهذه أرقام صعبة لم تسقط في أعتى الحروب، حتى تلك التي استمرت 20 عاما وهي الحرب الفيتنامية. لم تسقط هذه الأرقام، ولذلك نحن كصحفيين ندفع أثمانا باهظة جدا في طريقنا وفي سبيل هذه الرسالة الإنسانية النبيلة التي كفلتها كل القوانين والمواثيق الدولية. ولكن يبدو أن الاحتلال الإسرائيلي لا يروق له أن نقوم بواجبنا على أكمل وجه وبالشكل المهني الذي ترتضيه المواثيق، مواثيق الشرف للعمل الصحفي والمهني. مع الأسف هذا هو واقعنا. فقدنا الأسرة، وفقدنا الولد، وفقدنا الصديق، وفقدنا المكتب، وفقدنا المنزل، وفقدنا المأوى، ونعيش مشردين ونعمل من خلال كل هذه الأوجاع وكل هذه الآلام وكل هذه الأثمان، ومع ذلك ما زلنا مستمرون. ما زلنا مستمرون. نؤكد لكم أننا سوف نستمر في حمل هذه الرسالة وفي أداء هذا الواجب كما تشاهدون. شهيد آخر يسقط في هجمات إسرائيلية جديدة ومستمرة على قطاع غزة. نحن الصحفيين سوف نستمر في حمل هذه الرسالة. ما يقوينا هو الله سبحانه وتعالى الذي يمدنا بالصبر وبرباطة الجأش وبالقوة وبالقدرة على المواصلة. ما يواسينا ويسلينا أنتم في مظاهراتكم، في اعتصاماتكم، في كلامكم، في تفاعلكم على مواقع السوشيال ميديا. أنتم كلمة سر، لا تستهينوا بأي جهد تقومون به من أجل نصرة الحق ونصرة القضية الفلسطينية، نصرة المظلومين. فنحن إخوانكم على الأقل في الإنسانية، وهذه غاية نبيلة وسامية لا يعمل من أجلها إلا الكرماء. وبالتالي لا تستهينوا بجهودكم التي تقومون بها.
About at the 2-hour mark, we're going to be
بأن نقدر ما تقومون به. شكرا جزيلا لكم على ما تقومون، ونسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن تنتهي هذه الحرب المجنونة وأن نراكم إن شاء الله. تحياتي لكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Okay, 1 minute. So there's a 3-year-old boy missing. He's wearing a red jacket. If you see a 3-year-old boy with a red jacket, bring him up to the stage. A 3-year-old boy with a red jacket. We see him? 10-year-old? A 10-year-old boy with a red jacket. Mahmoud. His name is Mahmoud. Okay. There's a 3-year-old and a 10-year-old. Both of them are missing. A 3-year-old and a 10-year-old. If you see them, bring them up to the stage. The 3-year-old is wearing a red jacket. What is the 10-year-old wearing? A blue jacket. 10-year-old in a blue jacket, 3-year-old in a red jacket. Okay, found the 3-year-old. Okay, alhamdulillah. So Wa'il al-Dahdouh is literally the epitome of Palestinian resistance. And at the end of it, he said, I hope to see you all on better terms. So may God protect him and the remaining journalists in Gaza. Next up, we have Medea Benjamin, who is the co-founder of the women-led peace group Code Pink.
My name is Medea Benjamin with Code Pink. And we have been walking the halls of Congress every day for the last 3 months. But I'm asking for your help because we need to flood Congress. We need more people. Join us. We're there every day, 10 a.m. in the heart building of the Senate. We need them to know we will not stand by while they continue to support the genocide, right? But today I want to address the occupant in the White House. You know that Joe Biden used to cult an image of himself as this nice, kind Uncle Joe. He knew the value. He knew the value of of human life because he had suffered such losses himself. Now, he is no longer the comforter in chief. He has Genocide Joe. So when I say Genocide Joe, I want you to lift your hands in the air and say, the blood is on your hands. Genocide Joe. President Biden, for decades now, every time the Palestinian people have risen up against the 75-year-old brutal Israeli occupation, instead of sympathizing with their plight and seeking a real solution, you have reiterated your rock-solid support for their oppressor. Genocide Joe, the blood is on your hands. President Biden, in these last terrifying 3 months, when we have witnessed the murder of over 10,000 precious Palestinian children, when we have heard their soul-wrenching cries trapped in the rubble, instead of demanding that Israel immediately stop this atrocity, you bypass Congress to send more weapons. Genocide Joe, the blood is on your hands. President Biden, the overwhelming majority of countries came together at the UN to put an end to the slaughter, and instead you vetoed the UN resolution. Genocide Joe. And when your own staff say that it is a moral and electoral imperative for you to publicly call for a ceasefire, please don't wonder why you've lost the support of the young people, the Muslim community, progressive Jews like myself. Time will not heal this wound. Come November, we will remember, because Genocide Joe. But to counter these policies and those of Congress people in the pocket of AIPAC, just look around. We are building beautiful, enormous, multi-generational, multi-ethnic groundswell of support for the Palestinian people. One that will not be appeased or bought or contained or stopped, that will only keep growing and growing until Palestine is free. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Okay, so remember the guys that were standing on the satellite truck? They took the driver's keys and threw them in the crowd.
Oh my God.
So if somebody can please locate the keys of the satellite truck and give it up to us over here.
Free,
Dumbasses.
free Palestine. Our next speaker comes from the Muslim Students Association, a Palestinian student. What was that?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That was beautiful. Thank you. My name is Watfa Zayed, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois, home to one of the largest Palestinian population in the diaspora. But more importantly, I am a proud Palestinian. I am a recent graduate of DePaul University, one of the many universities in the United States that has yet to support its Palestinian students. We have seen our universities call what is happening in Gaza everything except what it actually is, a genocide. Rather than extending empathy to Palestinian students and staff, students are being denied admission from schools, professors and administrators are losing their jobs, and campuses are becoming unsafe. Personally, my brother had a rock thrown at him on our campus in Chicago for wearing a kufiya. My cousin, also wearing a kufiya, was spit on at his campus at Yale University. Yes. Hilda. Okay, sorry. Anyway, it is no shock to any of us that there has been an increase in hate crimes against Muslims and Palestinians on our school campuses. But our universities will not admit that. Us student organizers, however, know that this did not begin on October 7th. Our efforts in silence. In undergrad, I served as our Student Government Association president and was told that I cannot talk about Palestine because I represent all students. At one point, I was even asked to sit down with Zionist students, hear their concerns, and work with them.
What?
While I was proud that a Palestinian
There's
finally had a seat
nothing
at the table,
necessarily
I was
wrong with
basically
that.
told to be careful not to see things one-sidedly. I was threatened on social media and doxxed. Now, 2 years later, nothing has changed. Students are losing their internships, presidents of universities being forced to resign, and worst of all, we are not safe. Wearing the hijab, wearing the kufiya, praying in public, even our names make us targets. But if we look back to the first intifada of 1987, we are reminded that the revolution was led by the shabab, by the youth of Palestine. I'd be remiss if I did not acknowledge that most of the efforts we have seen throughout the past 3 months are led by college students. They say on the young get, but what we forget. And involved in your SJP, now is the time. If your school does not have an SJP, start one. Get involved in your MSAs. Make noise. Stop being apologetic. Seeing our hard at work, leading our protests, speaking to the press, phone banking, the list goes on. We are extremely privileged to be at our universities and colleges. Although we feel scared of the consequences, our brothers and sisters in Gaza are saying, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is enough for us, and He is the best disposer of our affairs. We need to be saying the same here in the diaspora. While the feeling of survivor's guilt weighs on us, let's challenge those emotions into doing everything we can to show the world Palestinian students exist, and we will not be silent.
Dennis Quaid is saying
Within
that the
our
power
lifetime.
grid.
Thank
is
you.
successful to fail.
Our next speaker is Alana Hadid, an influential activist and advocate for social change. She's recognized for her unwavering commitment to creating a more equitable, inclusive world. Please help me in welcoming Alana. Thank you.
I'd like to pause and recognize that in the next few minutes, my name is Alana Hadid, and I am the child of a Nakba survivor. It has been said before, but it bears repeating.
Power grid is susceptible.
This did not start on October 7th.
Really? Seriously?
My
This
father,
idea
Muhammad
is shocking
Hadid,
to
was made a
any of
refugee
you
by the
with
creation
half
of
a brain?
Israel in 1948 before he could walk.
That's funny.
My grandparents were violently expelled from their homes and the towns
Well,
their
I said
ancestors
I would
helped build
probably end around the
at the
2 hour
hands
mark.
of Zionists who planned for their
I think this
expulsion
seems like a good time to
decades in
end because I
advance.
need to go and do
The
some other
Nakba
things.
never ended. From 1948
bless you
until
all.
now, the mass
Remember,
expulsion,
you may feel small
displacement,
and tiny,
targeted killing, and ethnic
but
cleansing of Palestinians has persisted.
matter.
And I
You can make a
condemn
difference.
Israel for all of it.
We need you to help make the world
I will
a better
say
place.
that again.
Hi.
I condemn Israel for every day of Palestinian suffering at their hands from 1940. Today, we are watching a genocide on our screens. We are seeing an ongoing Nakba on social media. The horrors that are reality for Gaza and the West Bank for 100 days on our phones for the world to see. Babies are dying in Gaza before they are given birth certificates. Palestinians are carrying their family members in body bags. Each day, 247 Palestinians are killed, 1 every 6 minutes. 48 mothers every 2 hours. 30,000 children orphaned. More than 7,000 people missing or stuck under the rubble. Close to 30,000 killed by Israel's genocide. This is not a reality I can live with. I refuse to live in a world where my father cannot live and die where he was born. I refuse to live in a world where Nakba survivors are displaced again and again by the genocide and unjust war on Gaza. I refuse to live in a world where families are wiped from the earth by missiles signed and funded by American politicians and our
I wasn't able to
hard-earned
use
tax
my
dollars.
camera because I was also streaming.
I
to
refuse to
TikTok
live in
at
a
the same
world
time.
where children's hands dig for their families or journalists are targeted for showing the
We're gonna
world
go
the truth.
live a little bit later.
I
with
refuse
the
to live
game,
in a
but
world
we're
where
gonna end
famine
this
and thirst
now.
are imposed as a tactic of genocide.
So,
I refuse to live in a world where Palestinians
love
are
you
told
all.
our lives don't matter
Just
by a
testing out
country
the-
we fund
some
and
of the new
politicians
features
we
here
voted
in
into
the
office.
Mumble Studio.
Palestine
worked
has been
out pretty
showing their
well.
devastation to the world
I will see
every
you all
day for over 3 months.
later.
The brutality of this genocide, occupation, and the ongoing Nakba by the state of Israel have been laid in front of the